We'll go ahead and begin this morning with a word of prayer. Our Father and God, we're grateful for this day in which you've given us. We're thankful for the life that you give us to live for your honor, for your glory. Pray that you would be glorified now as we turn to your word in the language in which you gave it, in Hebrew. We pray that you would bless our time of study together as we look over your word. We pray that you would be with Pastor Little, with Pastor Conrad as they come to preach to us. Pray that you would bless their preaching of your holy word as well. We pray these things in your Son's name that he might be glorified. Amen. Okay, so we have another passage we're going to consider today. So if you're not already used to bringing all your paradigms, your holiday and everything, go ahead and keep those in your bag. So we're going to be using them for the remainder of our time together in Hebrew. So we have two verses today we're going to translate together. So grab all your charts, prepositions, pronominal suffixes, perfects, and all your noun paradigms and everything, because no telling what we got today. Try to pick scriptures that some y'all might be familiar with, others that perhaps are really interesting to look at in the Hebrew. This is one y'all are all familiar with. As we start pulling it apart, you'll see. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. We have Ashrei, which, if you're looking at that word, what does this word remind us of? Well, within our text here, we have the relative pronoun, who, that, or which. So that's, if some of you are thinking, it might be the relative pronoun, that's a good guess. Why don't we grab our holidays lexicons and turn to Asher and see if we can find it. The more you use holiday, obviously the more familiar you will get with the order. Sometimes a word you look up a lot, or ones you want to be reminded of, your binding will grow weak there. So we get to Asher. If you're not there already, it's page 30 in holiday. Now, some of you are having trouble with the holidays lexicon. It is a bit of a challenge because the Hebrew language goes, or we read the Hebrew language from right to left, not left to right. But the holidays lexicon goes from left to right. So Aleph is going to be on the far left, then Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and then Tav is going to be the back part of the book, where it would be the beginning of a Hebrew Bible. So don't let that play with your mind. So we get to Asher on page 30. We look there. We don't see that form under Asher, just this form. So we're going to have to see if this is something else. Okay, well, what else might it be? We've got maybe construct state there. If you look down at the different, there's several words that have Aleph, Shin, and Resh. If you look down, you'll see one, Esher, the word for fortune, which is the word right under Ashar. You'll see that there's a plural form for that one. That's exactly our form. And then if you look at the top of the next column on page 31, you'll see our form. Somebody want to tell us what that word means? Fortunate. Blessed is he. Fortunate, blessed is he. So if we thought it was a relative pronoun, maybe in construct state, who of, that of, and we went ahead and put that down, when we got to the end of this passage, we would have to go back and check ourselves, because it's actually fortunate. Fortunate or blessed is the one. So go ahead and put that down. Fortunate or blessed. And then, what do we have here? Somebody tell me something about this word here. Yes, it is ish, the word for man. Last time we had a use of ish that meant each one. This is the word for man. And then what we have here at the beginning of man? We have definite article, yes. So it's blessed is the man. Blessed is the man. We'll go ahead and render that in English. Blessed or fortunate is the man. There we go. And then y'all know the relative pronoun, or you should be familiar with the relative pronoun. Asher. That means who, that, or which. Who, that, or which. Have that on the end of your tongue. Whenever you see the relative pronoun, that's who, that, or which. Asher. It's going to appear all the time. So you can go ahead and put who, that, or which down. We'll render it in English later. So, what about this word here?
Oh, that's a pronoun.
It's a, let's look it up. Let's go to our holiday, pull that out. Very short little word, lo. Just a lamed, a shortened holum, and then an aleph. Lo. This word appears a number of different ways. Most commonly, this form. This one's on page 170 of holiday. This is actually a negative particle. And how we render a negative particle in Hebrew, it's always translated no or not. No or not. It's about to tell us, okay, so blessed is the man that or which not. So in the construction of this sentence, he's about to negate. So the man's blessed that doesn't do this thing or doesn't think this way or say this thing or whatever follows. So that's the negative particle. That's an important one for us to remember. It's translated no or not. Might have to supply a few more English words to make the negative particle fit. Blessed is the man that does not, thinks not. We'll see what fills in, but that's an important one. The negative particle, lo. If you look there on page 170 of holiday, you'll see it appears in a few slight variant forms, but this is how it most frequently appears. Then we have little short word here, halak. You might remember halak. We went over this one. If you were thinking, well, this is a second masculine singular pronominal suffix, that would have been a good guess, but that's not what we've got here. This is actually a verb. Anybody remember what halak means? This is one that very, very common verb, commonly inflected verb. This one appears different forms because it's got a weak consonant at the very beginning with the hey. And if you're thinking definite article there, that would have been a good guess also. But halak is what we have. This is a verb that we're thinking about our words we've already got. The man. That's a singular man. It's a specific man, not just any man, the man. And then we have halak. This is a third masculine singular form of this verb. So it's not inflected. This is the lexical form because it's referring to a man in the third person. So that helps us as we move along in the Hebrew text. We've got the man. It's a third person singular, so it's not surprising that we find a third person masculine singular verb following. It means to walk. Halak. To walk. If you look at page 79 of Holiday, all the inflected forms in the cow, because the hey is a weak consonant, and so it's constantly disappearing in the presence of preformatives. So that's one. Halak means to walk. So being in the third masculine singular, how would we translate that into English? It's a cow perfect, third masculine singular verb. He walks, exactly. He walks. Fortunate is, blessed is the man who that does not walk. Does not walk. Okay? Interesting. Then we have this word here. There's a couple things going on here. So let's walk through these. We've got that bet at the beginning. Does that put you in mind of anything? If you wanted to, if you were working through this on your own, you went and looked up all of this, it wouldn't be in your lexicon. We're going to save the time here and not do that. We got a lot of other words we want to cover. But the bet is actually a preposition. It is in. It is in. In, at, by, with, most commonly in. So you've got the bet. When you think of the Hebrew word bayit, which is house, what do you do with a house? You go in a house. You go in a house. So bait, in. So we'll go ahead and chop off that preposition, and then we have this word. We have an ayin with a hataf patak, a tzadeh with a patak, and then we have a tav bringing up the rear. So let's get our holiday out and let's look this one up. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, so I'll give you some pointers. This one's actually in the construct state here. If you remember when we went over construct state, when a noun has a hey on the end, it's a feminine ending, a comet's hey, that the hey will be replaced by a tav when it's in the construct state. And that is the case with this noun. So our lexical form of the noun is going to be an ayin, tzadeh, and then a hey. And if you get your holiday out and look at page 280, on the left-hand column, almost to the bottom, we see the word eitzah, an ayin with a tzere, sadeh, and then a comet's hey. So that lets us know it might be our word. And the translation of that word is advice, plan, or scheme. Y'all see that there? Page 280, if you look, there's our construct state form. You take away the bet preposition, and you've got exactly this form in the lexicon appearing there. So it's advice, plan, scheme, my men of advice, my counselors. We get the general idea. So, taking into consideration the preposition, the fact that it's construct state, and with the English translation advice, we would want to render this in English in advice, that's our lexical form, and then of, to render the construct state. So, blessed is the man that does not walk in the advice of, or the counsel of, and we got this word here. This word here is a noun. What do we have here at the end with this hirik, yud, and then a mem?
That's a pronominal suffix.
It's actually a plural. It's the masculine plural. form. So it's pluralizing whatever noun we've got here. So if you take your holiday, let's look this noun up and see what we've got here. I don't think we quite got to this noun. It was one of the ones in the stack I wanted to cover. But didn't quite make it. All right, so we're looking for the noun resh, sheen, and an ayin in our holidays lexicon. Now, if you look there already, page 347, we got quite a few forms. So we want to look and see if holiday captures the pluralization of our form anywhere. So we're going to look at the main forms, but then we're going to be looking for our specific form. And it actually appears two different places. So we're going to have to make a decision. One of those translation committee decisions. We have resha, which is wrong, injustice, or guilt. If you're following me on page 347. We have the noun rasha, which is guilty or transgressor. And both of those have our plural form. So we could either render this wrongs, injustices, or we could render this transgressors. So we can put both down. We'll work through the passage to see what fits in the end. And don't worry about playing fast and loose with the scripture here. We're just doing exercises for our own benefit. If you have a problem with that, use your interlinear to help you out. But the meaning is so close. If you look, there's also a verb that is the resh, the sheen, and the ayin, that is to become guilty, to make oneself guilty. All these things are closely bound up in these three words that we have. We have the verb to be guilty, to make oneself guilty. We have the noun resha, which is a wrong or an injustice or guilt. And then we have rasha, which is guilty, transgressor, impious. So the meanings are all very closely intertwined.
So what were the two words that you...
Well, we have one word, we have the noun, but then we have this plural ending here. So we're going to pluralize the noun. The noun is either going to be wrongs, injustices, or transgressors, or guilty persons. So if you want to put both of those down, you're probably going to guess by the time we get going, but there's a pluralization, so transgressors or injustices, whichever you pick of those, we'll put those down. And let's move on to this word. We have a vav at the beginning, bet, dalet, resh, and then final form kaf. Now we know the vav at the beginning means what? What does the vav at the beginning always mean? And. Exactly. We call that the vav consecutive. So, fortunate is the man that does not walk in counsel of transgressors, guilty persons, injustices, and we have a bet, dalet, resh, and kaf. Within this is bound up a noun that we have covered before. And the noun is derek. Anybody remember what derek means in Hebrew? The way, exactly, the way. The way, the road, the journey. We have a bet preposition there. So if your eyes caught that noun, you know this is a vav consecutive preposition and then the noun derek. So we would render this and in way, or in English, and in the way. And in the way is how we would render this word here. And then we come over here to an interesting word. We've got another, I know I ran right into the edge of the board, sorry about that. We've got another plural, masculine plural. We've got another one down here too. And then we've got a het, a tet, and an ayin, or an aleph, I'm sorry. We know that this is not the definite article. How? It's not a hey. Exactly. Simple as that. This word could throw us off because it's a het. It's not a hey. It's a het. So this is going to be the first letter of whatever noun or verb we're dealing with here. So let's go ahead and back to our holidays. Back to the lexicon to look up. We're looking for a het, a tet, and an olive all together. So, see if we can find what we've got here. Aha. Page 100. We got it again, just like we had with Rasha, we have different forms for this one. Several different forms, but they all mean pretty much the same thing. We have a verb form on page 100, but our form doesn't appear there. So we're going to bypass that one, keep looking down. It's actually on page 101. You see exactly our form on page 101 in the left column. What is the meaning of this word? What is the translation? Exactly. So if we pluralize it, the pluralization of sinfuls doesn't make any sense. So we're going to use sinners. Sinners. Because remember, it's plural. So if the noun is sinner, pluralization sinners. And in the way, sinners. And then we have, actually, another negative particle. So we're going to translate this no or not. We'll smooth out the English later. Then we have this word here, amad. And as you work through the Hebrew, when you see a word like that, that's got 2 A-class vowels, 3 consonants, start thinking probably a third masculine singular cow perfect verb. And that's exactly what that is. We're still referring to this, the man. So that is a cow perfect, third masculine singular, uninflected verb. What does amad mean? If you were working through that on your own and you looked up amad, you would find that verb. It means to stand. Page 275 in Holiday. We've got it, to stand. So, negative particle, not, and then verb, he stands. Or he stands up. Can also mean to take one stand. We'll just translate it simply, he stands. We'll polish out English later. And then look what we've got here. Something very similar to what we had up here. We've got vav consecutive. So we've got an and. We're going to go ahead and render that and. And then we've got the same pairing, another bet preposition. So and in. We're going to go ahead and lock that down. So that means we got to do something with this moshav here. Moshav. Now, one thing that can be tricky with Hebrew words is looking up words that include the full holum. I always like to look up a word with the full holum because the vav is still a consonant, even though it appears as a vowel in the case of a shurek and a full holum. I always like to look it up, moshav, the whole thing with the full holum. I can always look for just mem, sheen, bet, if I want to later, if I can't find it with the full holum. But let's go ahead and try to see if Holiday has the full holum. So we know we've got and in something here. So mem, vav, sheen, and bet. See what we can find. And when you find it, let me know, because I'm not going to give you the page number this time. It's getting harder. But it is in there with the full holum. What's the translation? Seat, sitting, position, area. Yeah, lots of stuff. And you actually see it there. Good job, Ethan. Right after Moshav, the lexical form, we see this is actually in the construct state when it's got the patak and not the full comet. So that's a nice little thing to catch there. So we've got and in, seat of, or position of, whichever you prefer. And in seat of. And then we've got another plural over here. So we've got two plurals already, and they were both nouns, so we're going to assume this is some kind of noun they're referring to here. If you were thinking, well, the lamed might be a preposition to, for, or into, that would have been a good guess, but that leaves us just a tzadeh to look up, and the fact that these two have been nouns, this is probably going to be a noun too. So let's go see if it is. So you see how context kind of is a guide in some sense. And if you're at Moshav, just turn back a few pages. Page 178. This one's kind of tucked away, but it's on the right-hand column, page 178. We've got the plural form there shown for it. If you look down, it's the second lexical entry, lates. You see that final form, tzadeh? Lates, and then late seem. Somebody want to tell me what that word means? So if we render it in the plural, it is? Babblers. Babblers or scoffers. Babblers or scoffers. Not a good crowd. Not he stand in and in seat of babblers, scoffers. Kind of clunky, but we're moving along. We'll polish it out. We get to the end. It'll sound just like the King James, I promise. So we've got late seem, babblers and scoffers. Let's move down here. You guys know what this is? Y'all tell me what it is. No or not. It's the negative particle. Very good. No or not. And then we've seen two before. 3 consonants, A-class vowels. 3 consonants, A-class vowels. 3 consonants, A-class vowels. Let's look it up. Cal perfect, exactly. That's what we're looking for. So let's see what we got. Let's go to holiday and look up Yashav. See if that gives us anything. I don't think we covered this verb together in our vocabulary. So we know he's not walking, he's not standing. What is Yashav in Hebrew? Let y'all tell me what it is when you find it. Sitting. Sit down. You go on page 146 in Holiday. See it there. We've got Cal Perfect. There it is. Sit down, sit, remain sitting. Even to dwell or to live. So, he's not sitting either. He's not walking, standing, or sitting. And now we got the little key. We had this word last week. Key is a very important word. And it can mean a lot of different things, but I left you with 2 words that you want to have kind of rule of thumb translations. And what were those for key? Because was one of them. Because is a good one. Because that is another one. Those are good ones. So we'll go ahead and render this because. You can render it that. If you wanted to go look up key in holidays, you could get a whole lot more. And then we have a little b word here. M. Anybody remember what M is? I heard a little voice. With, exactly. With, if, with, I'm with you. That's how I remembered it, just the English conjunction. Because with, or can also mean if. We have down here, we'll go ahead and put that down as with. We have another bet, maybe another feminine construct. Could be. We've got a class vowel and then a tav, so it might be. Within this word is also a noun that we've learned before. Anybody recognize it? If my writing's not too small for you. It's law, exactly. In Torah, law. The Hebrew word for law is Torah, and you'll sometimes hear a Jew refer to the Torah. He's referring to the law portion of his Bible. And if you have a Hebrew Bible, a lot of times Torah is one of the words written on the side. The Torah, the law, the Nevim, the prophets, and the Ketuvim, the writings, will be the 3 words written on your Hebrew Bible spine. So this is preposition bet, so it means in, and then Torah, law, but it's construct state, so it's going to be law of, exactly. Law of, in, law of, in law of. And then we have this word here, y'all should know this one. Yahweh, Yahweh. The divine name of God. It's not a third masculine singular cal imperfect. It's Jehovah, Yahweh. And then over here we've got a het. So we know it's not definite article. And then we've got a pay, tzade, and then a full holum. Now, of these 4 consonants, which one do you think you can eliminate right away that might be something else? Full holum. What would that be? What would the full holum be likely to be in this word? The full holum, you're right, is a third masculine singular pronominal suffix, one of the more common ones. It refers to his, or in some cases, its. So this could be a pronominal suffix. It's not a shurek, so it's probably not a verb that's rendered in the third common plural. So let's go to a holiday and let's look up a het, and then a pay, and then a tzade, and see what we can find. Het, pay, and tzade. And we find one. We actually find several forms, again, like we've seen before. So we're looking for R form. It's got a pronominal suffix, so it's not a verb. May or may not appear with the suffix, but in our case it actually does on page 112. Right-hand side. Somebody want to tell me what this word means in English? His pleasure, yes. His pleasure. Hafetz is the lexical form. So this would be his pleasure, or another meaning, his joy, his treasure, his jewel, his wish. All kind of neat stuff. So we'll go ahead and render it his pleasure, or his joy if you like that one better. His joy. We see our form actually there with the pronominal suffix added. So that's pretty cool. We don't always get the pronominal suffixes. So, he does not sit, because with in law of Yahweh, his joy, We got just 4 more words. We've got another really big one. Really big one here. But this one should look similar to this one. A little more going on, but you still see in the middle here, Torah. So something else is being said about the law. Let's start pulling things apart now. We've got Torah. Our eyes jumped right to Torah, so we can start looking at the other pieces. We've got a vav at the beginning. It's going to be vav consecutive, and then we have the bet preposition, which is going to be an in, and the only thing left is a full holum at the end, which a full holum at the end is the third masculine singular. So that's going to be a his. So we've got and in his law. So that's 4 English words bound up in one Hebrew word. And in his law. And in his law. And then we've got something going on here. It looks similar to Yahweh's name. I said Yahweh's name was not third masculine singular imperfect. This one has a yud. So maybe this one is third masculine singular imperfect. Might be, because we've just had 2 in a row third masculine singular pronominal suffixes. So you see how context gives us clues. We're going to go ahead and proceed on the assumption that this is a third masculine singular imperfect, which means if it is, it's a verb, and we want to look for a hey, a gimel, and then another hey. So let's go to Holiday and see if that's what we find, see if we guessed right. Hey, gimel, hey. And we know it could be a verb because the heys are not going to drop off in the presence of a preformative all the time. We still got the hey at the end there. So that would be, if it's a third masculine singular, that would be the 3 consonants of the verb, the 3 ground form consonants. So let's see if we find one. Y'all let me know if you find it, and if so, where you find it, and then where you find it, what does it mean? We actually have a couple, just like we've seen before, we have a couple of different appearances of the hey gimel with the hey. So we want to make sure we get the right one if possible. On page 76, at the top of the right-hand column, we've got the verb, it's hey gimel hey. And this one is to read in an undertone, to ponder, to growl when referring to a lion in Isaiah 31. That's interesting. We do see the imperfect form with just the tav preformative. But it's got exactly the same vowels. The gimel even has a dagish. The only difference is that this is a yud, and the lexical form gives us an imperfect with a tav. Maybe they're looking at second feminine singular, second masculine singular, third feminine singular. Anyway, it is a verb. It is a verb. We know it's a verb. We see a similar form there. So now how to render it? Well, it's a third masculine singular, cal imperfect, so we know it's going to be he will, and then whatever the action of the verb is. He will growl, he will read in an undertone, or he will ponder. He will plan, he will speak. Whole lot of options there. Ponder, I like ponder. We're gonna go with ponder. I like that one. Then we have 2 words left. We have yo mom. Yo mom. Yo mom. Is yo mom a virtuous woman? I know mine is. Let's look up, we know yom is day, right? We know yom is day. Let's see, yo mom. Does that mean anything special about day? This one was a little bit interesting. When I saw the comments in the men, when I was trying to pick a passage for us to exegete today, or to translate rather, I thought, that's a third masculine plural pronominal suffix. No, it's actually not. It's actually not. If you go in Holiday and look up yom, the word for day, that word's on page 130. You get a whole bunch of stuff about day, inflected forms and whatnot. And then let's look on page 131. If you look on page 131, midway down the right-hand column, we actually have Yomam appearing. Somebody want to tell me what Yomam means in Hebrew? It says it appears 50 times in the Old Testament. This was my first time coming across it. Yomam. During the day, that's it. During the day. Exactly what that means. So that's how we're going to render it. Just those words, during the day. He will ponder during the day. And then our final word, we have a vav consecutive. And then we have a lamed, could be a preposition, maybe. Does the word Layla ring any bells? We did cover this one. Layla, it is in your vocabulary. Otherwise, it could have been a nice wild goose chase if you didn't remember Layla, and you could have thought, oh, that lamed might be a preposition. Then look up Yud Lamed Hey, that wouldn't have got you anywhere. But Layla we did have. We know the vav consecutive is going to be and, during the day and night. Exactly. Layla, night and night. So let's go back now and translate the whole thing. Blessed is the man that does not walk in counsel of transgressors, and in the way of sinners does not stand, and in the Moshav, the seat of babblers, does not sit. Because within law of Yahweh, his joy is his joy. And in his law, he will ponder during the day and night. That's Psalm 1, verses 1 and 2. Psalm 1, verses 1 and 2. So see, there you go. We got a nice little mix of some verbs, plenty of prepositions, few pronominal suffixes, lots of nouns, lots of construct states, some definite articles and stuff, negative particles. So there you go, Psalm 1, 1, and 2. We'll do a couple more of these exercises, and then about the end of the month, we will wrap up Hebrew. And if you want to go further, I'll lend you my Walt Key and O'Connor book. 700 pages of Hebrew syntax, some of the toughest sledding I've ever read. Extremely tedious and monotonous, but if you're so inclined, and I haven't discouraged you, you can go further in that. But we'll just do a couple more exercises and then we'll wrap it up. let's go ahead and close with a word of prayer. Our Father and our God, we're grateful for your word, that we can walk in your ways, we can stand in your paths. And Lord, pray that you would help us not to sit in the seat of scoffers, stand in the way of sinners, O Lord, but that you would help us as we meditate upon your law. Guide our thoughts by your words. We pray these things in your name. Amen.